Hello friends, where to begin, Okay, so I think when I was doing a cleaning / organization video of my fabrics, I mentioned that I had some fabric lying around that I wanted to make a quilt for my mother for like over a year now. I did finally make that quilt. Here is the video of that quilt. I have a dress made out of this, but this was an entire bed sheet that I was going to make a dress out of and use the remainder for my mother's quilt. Neurotypicals, comment down below if I'm correct thinking that that is like an emotionally satisfying sentimental thing for you. Admittedly, I am a peruser or connoisseur of the remnants section at Joann's Fabrics. That is where I found the smallest bit of fabric, which is kind of like the swirly bit. Okay, so everything is ironed out at least as much as we need. I did not go ahead and iron this full thing because we are not going to need all of that. I have the smallest piece cut out, and that is going to be kind of our guide, and I'm just going to lay it out here and on this guide to cut out what we are going to need. Should be a relatively simple, straightforward process. That being said, I tend to make things a lot harder for myself, so we'll see how on track I stay. Okay, so everything is cut out and stacked on top of each other. I do have my handy dandy measuring tape here, and it looks like it is a little bit more than 19 inches across. 19 and a quarter, 19 and a half, give or take. So, I feel like if I have this in 10-inch strips, that's gonna be way too wide. And that would be cutting this in half. And if I did 5-inch strips, that wouldn't be enough. So I think that cutting these into 3 sections, so it's a little bit over 6 inches, that's probably gonna be what I'm gonna go with. Okay. Rough, but not as bad on my hand as the wool. Penny, hello. Feeling better? Yeah, your boo-boo is still quite pink. Got a couple hairs growing back though. Yes. All better now. I didn't really like the idea that I had the two dress fabrics together and then the two non-dress fabrics, but I liked the flow of the color better. So they are right sides together, and making sure I'm doing the flowers on the top for all of these strips. All right, now just a million more to go. I put those in the order that I wanted to keep them in, and I felt like I was going to need to put a lot more mental energy than I actually did to keep them in that order. I basically kept those in the stacks, and that made me ordering so easy. All right, we have used the classic straight stitch to attach all of our strips together. I probably look very orange for some reason. And now, because quilt, we are going to press out these seams. But for some reason, this pink one, you can see it's just a really light fabric, so you can see the tail from the other side. So I'm just gonna press away. I was originally wanting to back it with this blanket. It turned out to be a little bit too small for the quilt top, and I wanted to use the full size of the quilt top, so I headed to Goodwill just to see if they had another blanket, and I found this really pretty velvet, like a gold velvet blanket. I just thought that this was a little bit thin. My mother is a very small person and it gets cold easily, so I am going to go ahead and measure out some more batting to sandwich in between these layers. Surprise bear visit. Hello, love. I did try to follow... Well, come here. I did try to follow my quilt backing so easy that even I could do it, tutorial-ish type video with that, but I think that because it was velvet back on the back, it just kept getting caught in the, it was a little bit too fiddly with the presser foot, and it just wanted to slide around every which way, or more specifically, the batting wanted to slide, but the velvet did not. It was just so fiddly that I did straight lines to secure just the batting to the quilt top. So the quilt knocked all the binder clips off of the table, creating a bit of a mess. I feel like I'm still having to crouch over because I'm crouching over the table and putting myself at weird angles to keep the quilt straight. I feel like this is more difficult than the floor method. I did try the table. I listened and I tried the table, and it's just not working for me. It's not working. Maybe I'm just too messy. Okay, so in straight lines I sewed the batting to the quilt top with both right sides together, sewed 3 of the edges of the blankie to the quilt top, and going to, fingers crossed, that everything looks pretty. Gotta, trim everything around, cut our corners, and flip it inside-y outways, and hope that everything looks great, and then sew down that last edge, and that should be it for this blankie. Maybe throw it in the dryer to get out these little hairs and whatnot. Yes, after that was turned all right sideways, we sealed it up by folding the last little bit in on itself and sewing that down. Once again, in a straight line. We are only dealing in straight lines. The quilt, the whole reason for this 2-weekend marathon projects, is officially in the dryer. That is the last step before folding it up and packing it. Yay! Final thoughts on this project. Measure twice, cut once, if you will. I was sewing by the seat of my pants in some senses because I did not square out my quilt edges, and that made one of the edges very, very close to the edge of the blanket, like maybe a 1/4 inch away from the edge, and I am worried that that is not going to be secure enough, that it's not going to be stable enough, and that the quilt is going to get a hole in it. What were the final thoughts again? Measure twice, cut once, my mistakes, remnants section is bae, and thrift store is great place to find blankets to back your quilts with. So I think that just about covers it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to list them down below. New videos should be out on Fridays. I'm a little skippy right now because it's the holiday season and everything has been thrown into chaos. Thank you so much for watching. Stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Why are you licking the sheep? Can you hear K-pop in here? I hope not. You've abandoned me. You remember Grandma? She gave you many pets and did wrestling with you, and you were like, ah. True story, I have it on camera. And then you got an attitude with her afterwards. And that was not appropriate.